am.
Oh, this is exciting. We have some folks joining us. Welcome, Matt. Hi, I see Thomas, Verna, Rudolph, Ralph, Tim. Oh, Becky, Monet, Tia Blunt. That name sounds so familiar. Happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, this is going to be fantastic. Oh, I'm excited. Happy Sunday. I see Alan Brooks. Oh, I'm going to ask everyone to mute themselves. Hey, Maura, thanks for cutting your camera on. Good to see you. Oh, we would love for folks to cut their cameras on to see faces.
Sure, I will do that shortly.
Oh, there's Becky.
It.
Ah, yes. Becky Sanders. That's our Becky.
Hey, Becky.
Thanks, Amy. Amy is a prophet.
I see Katie Leonard. She's kind of matching our colors here with the green and yellow. I like it.
Yes, that was 100% intentional.
Ooh,
I'm just
awesome.
kidding. It wasn't, but I'm really excited.
That look a good. I love intentionality. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, we see more faces. I see Ralph popping up. Alphonse Gardner. Ooh,
Hey, Aaliyah.
Robert Burns. Hey, Ralph. How are you?
All right.
Good
Everyone.
morning.
Good to see you.
To see you too.
We got a nice little virtual crowd. I encourage everyone, introduce yourself in the chat. We're going to be having some great dialogue this afternoon. Please start talking to each other. This is going to be so fun. I see Sarah, Jackie. Oh, we got a lot of great folks joining us. Ooh. Oh, we're going to have a good time. Adrian, Sean, I see a Crystal.
Hi, Sarah Rich.
Hi, hi.
Oh my gosh. I've known Sarah since since she was born, I think.
Oh, wow. I love this.
My friend, it's been 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Ralph, you don't look that old, so come on, it can't be 1,000 years. I see Sal. Oh, guys, if you're a business owner, put your business in the chat. We love to see what your business is. Ooh, I love it. Building momentum to everyone. I like that. Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Oh, I love this engagement in the chat, guys. Love it, love it. Let's keep it coming. We're gonna get started here shortly, but I want to give everyone time to log on. Please say hello. Yes, Robert, it is good to see everyone on a snowy day. Yes, on a snowy day.
It's not snowing here.
Exactly.
That's because Ralph is in Florida. So
Oh,
he has all the warm weather.
Tough break.
Ralph,
what part of Florida?
Pardon me?
What part of Florida are you in?
Just off the coast of St. Petersburg. Literally an island off the coast of St. Petersburg called Tierra Verde.
Tierra Verde, yeah. I'm from Tampa originally.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm on Tierra Verde. Yep.
I
They're building a new bridge. They're getting rid of the.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, they're almost done with it.
Sal, I didn't know that. My family is in St. Pete and Tampa. Like my dad, my grandma, everybody.
Oh yeah, I grew up in Hillsborough County, of course, Tampa, and in Manatee County.
Small world.
Yes, Floridians, right, Katie?
Yes, go Gators, go Bulls.
Okay, let's go. Bulls.
I literally just got back from Fort Lauderdale last night. I had to get back before the snow. So Ralph, I would have preferred to be with you in the nice sunny weather.
I was going to say, lucky you.
Yeah. I love it. But we're here, right? We're here.
Yeah.
It's a little about 1:02. I think we're gonna get started. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. We have about 45 minutes of meeting an amazing woman who has decided to run for City Council for the City of Alexandria. And it's going to be an exciting time. I know we're virtual, so I'm gonna ask, use your chat, use the emojis, applaud. This is only as engaging as you make it. Aaliyah has been really instrumental in making sure she connects with the community members. So I'm really, really excited. I'm gonna ask, if you're not talking, just with Zoom etiquette, go ahead and mute yourself. And we're gonna be asking some questions, right? So if there are questions that you have for Aaliyah, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. We will get to them. This is a time for you all to meet her and engage with her with some, and I like what Katie said, intentionality, right? These types of intimate virtual gatherings can really cultivate some intentional and impactful conversations. So before we dive in, I want to talk very, very briefly about how Aaliyah and I connected. Almost 3 years ago now, there was there's an organization called WICKET. It stands for Women of Color in Community Development. And we were having a social gathering to go see a Nina Simone play. And prior to the gathering, I'm sitting in this cafeteria, kind of by myself, and Aaliyah just so happens to pop next to me. And you ever meet someone and their energy just kind of not hits you, but surrounds you in a very subtle yet comforting way. And I'm sitting next to Aaliyah, and we started to spark up this conversation around her career, who she was as a person, her deep-seated experience in community development in all aspects. And I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, she's one of those quiet leaders that when she speaks, you know it's with purpose, of value, and with thoughtfulness. And I would have continued to get to know Aaliyah for the past 3 years through WICKET, through her work in community development. So I'm honored today to moderate and kick off this event with her. We are only as impactful and powerful as the people we surround ourselves with. And Aaliyah has a tribe that is so powerful and can speak to her preparedness for this position. And this first person, he's a leader in his own right. He is the mayor of Savannah. He has worked with Aaliyah on the grassroots level. And we are very excited today to have the mayor of Savannah. Oh, Van, is he here? Mayor Van Johnson, he's waving. We see him. We see him. Welcome, Mayor Johnson. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate, Kia, your energy. Greetings from 64 degrees Savannah, Georgia. And it's drizzling a little bit, and I'm complaining about that. So hello to everybody in snowy Alexandria. I am so glad to have the opportunity to be with you and to share in this moment. The Bible says, do not despise small beginnings. And so I like being the part of something big, something that is transformative and something that will help make a difference. And so I came very briefly, virtually, to be able to share my excitement and experiences with the young lady that we are saluting and we are celebrating today, and why I believe that she is going to be a wonderful, wonderful addition for servant leadership in your great city. I had the opportunity to meet her some years ago. I've been the mayor of Savannah. This is my second year of being mayor of Savannah, but I was on the Savannah City Council for 16 years before that. I've been a board member of the National League of Cities and chairman of the advisory board of the National League of Cities. And so although people think elected officials are really all that smart all the time, we're really not. We go to places like the National League of Cities where we meet career people who are who are not only smart, intelligent, well-versed, well-studied in best practices across the country. And so I was on a council called the Institute for Youth Education and Families, because for me, that's my thing, youth, education, and families. And I met this young lady that, as Kia said, her energy surrounds you. I thought she was a little quiet too. She's really not, but really insightful, really intelligent. And we just kind of kicked off. You just have those things where spirits connect. And I realized not only how smart she was, but how prepared she was, how genuine she was. And I remember saying to myself, one day she might need to come over to the dark side and serve as well. I was so happy to hear when she called in and told me she was thinking about running, and I told her, absolutely. Beloved, we're in a time where people are running away from politics and politicians, but this is a time where public servants step up. And this young lady has chosen to run towards the challenge of being able to serve. Savannah and Alexandria are very, very similar. We're very similar in history. Y'all are a little older than us, but we've been around for 287 years. We are both in proximity of much larger cities, but yet we have diverse needs of citizenry. And so it's important to have people who are well prepared, people who have the temperament, people who have the world experience, but more importantly, people of integrity that want to be able to serve. Oftentimes, and I know in Savannah, people who have served are often retired, independently wealthy, or self-employed, which means that people who usually serve for us are usually much older, and they have already, they don't necessarily represent the mass of people. In other words, people who are working every day, people who have families, people who have responsibilities. And I just want to come and let you know that from a person who does not live in your city, I can certainly attest that she has the skills, she has the abilities, she has the servant's heart. And I think I'm just excited to be here for this moment in time in which your community kicks off a big green and yellow wave. And I'm excited that when it's safe to do so, to be able to come back and watch my friend, Leah Gaskins, be sworn in as a council member in the city of Alexandria. You all can do it. It doesn't take a bunch of folks to start off a movement. And so I'm glad that even on a Sunday with so many other things going on and people have so many things to be able to do, that you have the opportunity to say you were there on day one. And I know that I have to hurry up because then they're going to be yanking me in a minute, but I need to tell you this because it's really important. I want to make sure that Jennifer doesn't get mad at me. So the reality is this, and I want to be very clear with you. Although we hate to say it, campaigns cost money. I mean, you have to get your word out. You have to get people who are knowledgeable in this science. So I hope that you will join us in making sure that sometimes, you pay for what you want and you pay for what you get. And so ultimately, and I'm certainly going to make my contribution today because I want her to have what she needs to get to where she needs to be. So I'm hoping as much as we are spiritually and excited about what she's doing, that we're also going to be financial partners with her. And again, I use the word partner because I believe that we are sowing our funds into good soil. Because we're going to get her where she needs to be, and she's going to help our city get to where we want our city. And I say our city, Alexandria, to be where it needs to be. So God bless you all. We thank you so much for caring enough about her. Aaliyah, you're going to do this thing, girl, and we're going to celebrate it together. And we know that's where the journey begins, because then you're going to go ahead and take all of us with you to the City Hall. God bless you all, and congratulations.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Mayor Johnson, thank you so much. Yes.
Can I stay? Y'all gonna put me on.
You can stay. You said one thing I love there. You said we, right?
Yeah,
Our city.
It's always we.
It's always a we. Is this level of community and coalition building that we need to see that our leaders have leaders of other cities and communities behind them. It is always a we. And I want to, and we're going to get to our campaign video in here in about a minute. Thomas is going to tee that up for us. But I want to caveat one thing, right? Me and Mayor Johnson both said we thought she was a little quiet. That is a good thing. Do you know why? Because that means she's using her God-given gifts. She has 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We have a candidate who listens. When everyone's quick to speak, we need someone to take pause to hear all the people. Is that fair? So I don't want you to think, oh, she's quiet. She has a voice. And we are going to hear her voice right now. Thomas has us queued up. And let's watch this campaign video.
I'm Aaliyah Gaskins. If this past year has taught us anything, it's that being prepared can make all the difference. That's a lesson that I learned early on. Growing up, my mom faced chronic health challenges, fighting diabetes and asthma. As a kid, my family had to be prepared to make the choice between healthcare and putting food on the table. No one should ever have to struggle in that way. It's why I've dedicated my career to preparing cities to be the best that they can be. Cities are at their best when we work together and prepare ourselves to help families just like mine. I've prepared a lot of cities to plan smarter, to reach further, and to ask better questions. Alexandria is my home. It's where I'm raising my son. I've been listening to my neighbors, hearing their concerns, and I've been inspired to serve. As I've watched our community struggle over this past year, it's clear to me that we can prepare for a more equitable future. I'm running for City Council so that our students, our seniors, our small businesses, all of our neighbors, especially our Black and brown neighbors, are able to share in the prosperity of our city's future. I'm running to bring a missing perspective and a new voice to our City Council. I'm prepared to listen and to act to get results for our community. That's why I'm asking for your support in the Democratic primary on June 8th. Together, we can grow Alexandria into the equitable, forward-looking, innovative city that I know it's prepared to be. Thank you.
Ooh, I love this. I love this. I love this. Oh, I love it. Ladies and gentlemen who are gathered with us virtually, thank you for your time. I would like to introduce to you the woman we all decided to show up for here today and continue to show up for until June 8th, Aaliyah Gaskins. Woo!
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Kia. Thank you, Mayor Johnson. And just thank you all for giving me your time today. I am so excited to look out. I see faces that I recognize, friends and family, but then I also see some faces and new names of people that I've never met. And so I appreciate you coming to get to know me, and I look forward to getting to know you even more. Someone once told me that in order to get better results, you have to ask better questions. You have to be curious enough to imagine a different way of doing things. Ever since I was little, there's always been one question on my mind, which was, what would it take for my mom to be healthy? During my studies at Vanderbilt University, I set out to answer this question by majoring in medicine, health, and society. I took classes in economics and public policy and anthropology in order to understand what are all of the factors that impact our health. What are the things outside of the hospital that really influence whether or not we can reach our full health potential? I learned about housing and transportation, the way we design and plan our cities. I learned about how your wages impact your ability to afford not only your medications, but to afford a healthy diet and to keep a roof over your head. All of these things reminded me of my childhood and the times when I had to watch my mom make the difficult trade-offs between medicine, rent, and food, putting food on the table for the two of us. I went to my professors and I kept asking questions. This time the question was, what can I do to help? What can I do to make sure that no family has to struggle in this way? And so I went on to get my master's in public health at the University of Pittsburgh. I wanted to understand, how do we investigate and diagnose and address the root causes of poor health? How do we create and implement public policies that are going to protect and promote health? I wanted to know, what does it take to actually remove some of the barriers that prevent people from being healthy in the first place? And so I took all of the information and the things that I was learning, and after graduation, I accepted a position at DC Hunger Solutions. DC Hunger is a nonprofit in the district that works to ensure that all children have the nutrition they need to thrive. I spent my time there working to promote access to school breakfasts and summer and after school meals, to expand access to farmers markets, to advocate for grocery stores and other policies to make sure that people have the nutrition they need to show up at work, to go to school, to do the jobs that they've set out to do. But something that I kept thinking about was, what would it take to ensure that families actually had the economic security to never go hungry in the first place? What would it take to plan a city where there are no food deserts? And that led me to the National League of Cities. As you heard from Van, the National League of Cities is an organization that is focused on helping local elected officials really advance their cities and help their cities be the best that they can be. At the League of Cities, I launched their first learning collaborative on health disparities. I got to work with cities from Savannah to Cleveland to Lincoln, Nebraska, to Rancho Cucamonga, California. I worked with Republicans and Democrats. I worked with agency leaders and city managers all around this question of, how do we understand the health impacts of our decisions? Recognizing that a health decision is not just where we put the public health department. A health decision is, how do we design our roads? How do we ensure that everyone has housing that they can afford? How do we make sure that people have access to quality and affordable childcare, to good schools, and really thinking about what that means then for people's physical health, their mental health, as well as their social health. I was able to work through our partnership with the White House on Let's Move Cities, Towns, and Counties, where I got to support over 500 communities in passing more than 3,000 policies to promote healthy eating and active living. Here, I also learned the basics of good governing from the leaders themselves. I learned that local leaders don't have time to wait. If you're talking about a pothole or you're talking about a sidewalk, people feel that every single day, and they're looking for you to take action and make a decision. I also decided to go back when I was at the League of Cities to get my master's in urban planning, because it was clear to me that the way we build, design, and plan our cities has an impact on who can live there, how we live there, and how we experience the world around us. After completing my master's, another question came up for me. How do you pay for all this stuff? If we're clear that people deserve healthy communities, then we have to be just as clear in doing the work to make it a reality. And so I started asking questions about, what does it take to finance affordable housing? What does it take to help cities attract and deploy capital in ways that are driven by residents? And so this led me to the Center for Community Investment, where I had the opportunity to work with stakeholders in community development and anchor institutions, as well as other local elected officials, on changing the policies and the practices that shape what gets financed in our communities and for who. Every day, I can be honest, this work reinforced for me that where you live matters, not just the buildings themselves, but what's available to you. And that your zip code really is more important than your genetic code. Now I get to work for a foundation that is focused on answering the question of, what will it take to ensure all people have healthy, safe, high quality, affordable housing? I get to work with communities across the country, but I also get to work with other foundations that are really thinking about how they can put their money to where their words are and make sure their values, their resources, and their actions are aligned. Each of these jobs has prepared me for this moment where I believe that we need a leader who understands these issues, as I've shown you through my career, who listens to those who are most impacted by the issues, and who can mobilize both resources as well as partners to make a difference. It's clear to me that in Alexandria, we have some tough challenges ahead. There's the obvious one of COVID, but there's also other ones like flooding and housing affordability, and how do we restore our public trust in government? Every day since I've started this journey, I have been in conversation with our neighbors, listening and asking questions in the same way I've always done. I can be honest with you that if you've heard a rumor that I'm talking to so-and-so, it's probably true, because I'm talking to everyone. I'm trying to talk to folks on both sides of each issue, trying to understand all of the angles that may not be clear to me. I want to understand their solutions. I want to understand their concerns. I want to understand what keeps them up at night, but I also want to understand why they love this city just as much as I do and my family has grown to. I want to be a part of helping working with them to find those solutions. And so I believe, and I will always believe, that cities can and cities should work for everyone. That cities should work for families just like mine, that they should work for, my mom and other moms who are doing everything they can to make ends meet, that they should work for you, that they should work for me. And so I believe that if we can come together and listen to one another, if we can plan together and we can make effective and equitable policies, then we can create a future for Alexandria that serves our families, our children, our seniors, those who live here now, those who are to come, those who are thriving, and those who need a hand up. And so I appreciate you taking time to embark on this journey with me. I look forward to answering your questions today, but this also shouldn't be the first time we connect. I will make sure that you have ways to get in touch with me, that you can connect others to me so that I can keep listening and hearing your story, and hopefully have the opportunity to serve and take action on the things that matter most to you. So thank you.
Ooh, thank you, Aaliyah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to ask a couple questions. Is that fair? Can we do that?
That's fair.
All right. So this first question it's gonna seem obvious because you ran down your resume, right? From the League of Cities. You've seen it from all sides, from policy, community, housing, health. It almost seems like not why serve now, but it's like, but why'd you wait so long? You were ready. Why now? Why right now?
That is a great question. I would say that there's a few reasons that are driving me right now. The first is I'm a mom, and every day I have the opportunity to get to look into the eyes of my beautiful son, Zeke, and think about what's he going to be when he grows up. Think about the world around him and the world that I hope he gets to grow up in. And there are things that scare me. I'm raising a Black son in this country at this time. There are things that I look at in our city and I get so excited about, but then there are other things that I notice we have a lot more work to do. And so I can't sit on the sidelines. I want to serve for him. I want to serve and be a part of the solution in making a community that he can grow up and be the best that he can be, that he can go to schools that prepare him for a world-class education or with the skills he needs to get a job on day one. I want to be a part of creating a community where he feels valued and can experience just this great city around him, but where he can also learn that we care enough to engage people of all ages, including our youth, in our decision-making. So the other reason why I'm running now is, let's be honest, there are 2 open seats. And we need to make sure that we fill those with people who have not only the skills, but the passion to serve. Right now, there's nobody on our council that brings the public health and planning experience that I do, and that I think is so critical as we navigate some of our current issues, but also prepare for the long-term future. And then lastly, I would say, I think we're making a lot of decisions. Some have been really, really great, but I don't know that I've seen anybody asking the question of what's the future we want to prepare for and where are we headed? And I think we need somebody who's pushing and asking that question so that we can ensure that every action we take is moving us closer to that goal and that vision of success that we create as a community.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. So I heard a couple of things there. Family, future, community, and asking the tough questions, right? I think, yes, is it obvious there are 2 open seats, but it takes a person of character and resiliency to step up. So as a person who's willing and ready to step up and you're prepared to step up, how will you lead differently? How will you govern? And I want you to kind of break, because people look, govern. How do you govern? What's that? It's a fancy word. How will you be a different type of leader for your community?
Yeah. I do think govern is a fancy word, and the only way I can think of it is how do you get shit done? And I apologize for swearing, but that's just me, and that's the only way I can translate it. In terms of how I will govern and what I think will be different is, it may sound so simple, but I think listening and making sure that people feel heard is something that is not happening right now. since the beginning of January, I have now had conversations with close to 80 people, not your usual suspects who are, on boards and commissions. I've talked to them too, but I've also talked to our faith leaders. I've talked to my neighbors. I've talked to individuals in the community, and I've been asking questions about, what are they concerned about and what do they want to see? And everyone has said, I just wish somebody would listen to me. And so I can guarantee that that's the type of leader I'm going to be. Now, listening doesn't mean that we'll always agree. And I can be honest, listening may not mean that we always come to the same conclusions. But I think that you'll never be able to walk away from meeting with me without understanding how you've been heard, what I took away, and I will get back to you. I will let you know what was used and wasn't used and why I made the decisions that I made. Because I think that at the end of the day, people don't just want you to listen. They want to know what you did with the information and what happened to it. So I think that that's the difference I will bring.
I tend to mute myself because I'm like, yes. I think people don't realize politics are people. And what you said about people want to be heard. And I think you take it that extra mile so they can be heard. But also what you just said, if it doesn't go your way or the outcome you want, I'm going to explain to you why. Because sometimes we forget it's our individual desires that might not be best for the entire community. And leaders have to be willing to make those tough decisions. Oh, I love it. I want to encourage you guys, please use the chat. Aaliyah, we're still tracking on time. Jennifer, we're doing good. I have another question for you. People often talk about collaborating across parties and issues. But one of the things you and I talked about and you mentioned was you want to build coalition building. What does that mean for you?
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about this because I think you're right. Everyone says, oh, well, we're going to collaborate. We're going to build new partnerships. And I think what that misses is sometimes when we collaborate, it's just on a particular project or something we're just trying to get done. I'm here, you're here, let's get it done, let's come together, and then it's over. I think when I say let's build coalitions, what I'm saying is the deep, long-term, committed work to be in relationship with you. I recognize that our city is divided on a lot of issues, from bike lanes to how we solve our flooding issues to how we address affordable housing. And we're not going to solve that if we just keep talking past one another. We're not going to solve that if we aren't actually coming to the tables or coming to the Zoom meeting, given that we're in a virtual world. But we're not going to solve that until we are actually coming together and making space for me to hear your ideas, for me to hear your concerns, for you to hear each other, and then for us to articulate, then what are our values? What are the common points or the areas of synergy where we can work together? But then also, what can we do to harness our collective expertise and to mobilize resources to actually take action that is in alignment and in service of that result? And so to me, that's the difference. That's when you're really getting people committing to the deep work, committing to the long term, wrestling with the uncomfortable conversations and the questions that nobody wants to ask, and then putting up, their expertise, putting up their relationship, putting something on the table so that we can move forward for our collective better.
I love it. I'm here for it. All right, we have time for one more question, Aaliyah. How has your faith prepared you for this?
I appreciate you asking this question because my faith is the foundation of who I am and why I think service is so important. Growing up, my mom and I used to attend this church called Waverly. My mom still attends. And every Sunday, the pastor would say, "What does the Lord require of you?" And we would end by saying to seek justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. And for me, this piece about seeking justice, I don't know that I knew as a kid what that meant, but as I've started to study and think about the work that I want to do and the legacy I want to leave and the service I believe I'm called to, I believe that it is in search of justice. I think that we deserve just and equitable cities. And part of how we get there is by passing the policies and changing systems that perpetuate injustice. So this feels like, a calling for me, something that I didn't enter into lightly, but that I have been praying about and thinking about every step of the way. I would also say that my church, a lot of churches do missions, and sometimes they do them abroad or they do them in different places. But at Waverly, it was always instilled in me that our mission is right here in our neighborhood and in our community. And so that's why neighborhoods are a part of my platform. I believe that where you live really plays the greatest impact on how you experience this world and the opportunities you have access to. And so whatever I can do to bring my heart for justice and my heart for service into neighborhoods and working with the people who live there, that is what I believe is my work, the work I'm called to do.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Service, justice, community. Ooh, okay. So I'm gonna bear with me. We have one quick question that just popped in from the chat from Tia. Her question is, what from your perspective would be an affordable housing win in Alexandria?
Tia, that is a great question. I think right now what I've observed is the conversation in affordable housing, around affordable housing in our city, really seems to be focused on, are you for or against development? Are you for or against ADUs? Are you for or against density? Are you for or against this tool or that tool? And I think what we're missing from the conversation is each of these are tools. Not one is the overall problem and not one is the overall solution. And we need to be figuring out, how do we not limit our toolbox, but how for each and every development do we define what success looks like? What are our values around affordable housing? And then what are the tools that are going to help us get there, so that every conversation is not about yes this or yes that, but it's really, how do we make development work for us, and how do we make sure that we are moving forward in a direction that actually gives us the housing that we need to serve multiple income levels, multiple people, and ensure that people who bought into Alexandria a long time ago can actually stay. I'd say a personal win, I live on the West End, and we have a big opportunity with the redevelopment of Landmark. And the new hospital coming in is kind of the anchor and catalyst for that project. I think a win would be working with them and other partners on that site to ensure that we have a range of housing affordability options, and that we don't miss this historic opportunity where we're never going to get another 52 acres of land probably in the city of Alexandria. So let's make sure we redevelop it right, and we redevelop it so that we can maintain the diversity of incomes and the diversity of people in our city.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I think what I heard in the beginning there was, it's not yes or no. It's not either or. It can be both and. And I think where your experience shines is you've been on the side of both when it's a yes and both when it's a no. And how can it be a cohesive win for everyone? I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. All right. So early on, I talked about it's a village. We have some folks teed up here who are going to speak to Aaliyah's character. And first up, we have Jennifer. She's not only a resident of Alexandria, she's a human rights advocate, but she's also a volunteer for this campaign. Mm-hmm. And I think that says a lot of where are you willing to where and who you're willing to volunteer your time for. Jennifer, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can tell us why Aaliyah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kia, and thank you, Aaliyah. So my name is Jennifer Gilliard. I have been a resident of Alexandria for 14 years and have always resided on the West End. It was only because of my passion for human rights and public policy as a minister and social worker that I found out how to navigate through this beautiful yet complex city of ours. Unless you are astute to politics and connected to certain boards and commissions or people on them, it's not that easy to know what laws are hindering you as an everyday citizen in this city. I mean, most people are just trying to survive, being priced out of a community that they have toiled to make better for others, but not quite reaping the fruits of their labor. Alexandria is starting to make strides towards equity across the board. However, as a resident, my concern is our neighborhoods remain siloed, meaning the interests of our residents, or all residents for that matter, are not consistently heard and addressed because access and work lifestyles, language, legal status concerns, and social economic status are not fully taken into account when making efforts to gather input and ensuring communities are not left out. Now, current members, I applaud their work, and I would hope they would want a colleague like Aaliyah on council who wants to tackle and hear from the hard to reach places and the hard to reach people, who has the personal, the educational, and work experience in some of Alexandria's biggest problems, including equity, public health, food instability, and affordable housing. Aaliyah has worked in all those areas. She is someone who would listen to all viewpoints, but ensure no one's voice is missing at the table. Like the voiceless, these are individuals from neighborhoods who have never testified before council, who dare not ask anything of authority, and who work through the challenge of being invisible every day, but feeling the weight of policy that did not capture their voice. Aaliyah is rooted in the work of community. She's a grassroots worker at every level of success she's had. It's in her blood, because she's been in situations where she's had to figure out how not only to survive, but to thrive in what she could do better, to better her own situation, and yet what her representatives could do to better her situation. She has never shied away from the tough talks, especially with those holding political office. She walks her talk. I am supporting a candidate that I truly believe in because I have experienced her compassion. I have experienced a candidate who knows what she does not know and seeks after that knowledge by listening, engaging with people in the community, and having those hard conversations. I've witnessed her spirit of volunteerism. She's no stranger to the art of balancing work life, family life, and the work of the people. And just like her, I encourage all of you today, after everything, to get involved. Get involved in the matters of your community by also getting involved in this campaign. We have something to accommodate every level of busyness, because I know we're all busy, but we have something for everyone. You can join events or host a meet and greet with the campaign, guiding you through the process. You can volunteer safely from your home and your couch by texting some Alexandrians about when to vote, and texting about Aaliyah, sending postcards, volunteering to send postcards, volunteering by phone banking. If you want more interaction, you can help canvas. If you want to get fresh air, safe canvassing, we will offer that each weekend starting February 6th. We will be planning socially distanced literature drops. The location for the meet and greet will be emailed out to you no later than 24 hours prior to the morning of the event. So while we would like to be able to talk with local voters, we understand that due to COVID, we are planning contactless literature drops at this time. So if canvassing is a possibility for you, we'll be sure to work with you and abide by COVID protocols. And you can also volunteer to be an election day poll volunteer. And again, it'll all be following COVID protocols. But lastly, and I think most importantly, it's all about word of mouth as well. Tell your neighbors about Aaliyah. Tell your church members about Aaliyah. Tell your work colleagues about Aaliyah, all Alexandrians about Aaliyah. Tell your family and friends in Alexandria that this is a candidate to watch and vote. So if you would please join me, vote Aaliyah for Alexandria, and you learn more about her after today by visiting her website, Aaliyah, the word for Alexandria.com.
Jennifer, I'm here for all that energy. Midway through that, y'all saw Jennifer get worked up, right? She got in that. You know what I heard was her community is starved for a candidate who's going to ask the tough questions to make change for all. I love that fire. And we need those types of volunteers with fire for change. Jennifer, I'm here for it. All right. Now, Al, we're gonna tee up Alan here, and Alan was supposed to be ice skating with his son, but he decided to be here. He's here today. He is the Chief Creative Officer for this campaign. Alan, I want to hand it over to you to talk about why Aaliyah, why your support.
Thanks so much, Kia. Yeah, so our ice skating trip was unfortunately canceled by the snow, but fortunately it allowed me to be here with you all. So my name is Alan Brooks. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Building Momentum, which is a small business based in Alexandria. I'm also a child of Alexandria. I was born at Alexandria Nova Hospital. I grew up, went to George Mason, GW, and TC, well, formerly TC. And I unfortunately ran away to Fairfax, but my company came back, brought me back to Alexandria. And Building Momentum has been part of the Alexandria community for about 3 years now. And we own and operate the Garden down on the west end of the city, which is where I met Aaliyah for the first time, I think. It was a number of any events we've been at together, back when events were a thing. I just wanted to touch base a little bit about the potential for someone like Aaliyah being on the city council as it relates to the small business community of Alexandria. Alexandria already has a really wonderful small business community, and I'm honored to be a part of it from a whole bunch of different perspectives. I'm a newly elected board member of the Alexandria Chamber of Commerce. Building Momentum has played host to a number of small business events, both for organizations in and outside the city. And something that we as a company have really started to lean into this last year is the importance of business in terms of its impact to community. No matter what your business is, we believe that a business has a larger responsibility than just profit, right? That, and I'm stealing this line, that the community is the product of any business and should be. And once I figure out who said that first, I'll properly give it credit. And whether we're a government contractor, we do training, we do events, we do birthday parties, holiday parties, and weddings, and teach people how to weld and everything in between. And that's what we do. But what we want to have impact on is Alexandria as a whole. And finding a partner in Aaliyah on the city council allows for the realm of the possible to happen. And that's really what we want to see in our city partners, because we see being a part of Alexandria City as a business as a partnership with the city, not just a way for us to capitalize on what we can from tax code or from loopholes, but or even just simply like having somebody to call in City Hall when we run into a permitting weird problem, but rather what can government and small business actually do to make the community a better place for everybody, right? Because when we raise everyone up, the city as a whole becomes better. And Aaliyah seems like the kind of partner Aaliyah is the kind of partner that we're going to be able to have on the city council to look at that and look at what the realm of the possible is, right? Because the kind of consistent theme that I'm hearing in everyone's conversation today is about access and equity. And a massive part of that are our business partners in the city. And they are the ones that potentially can either be a signal enhancement to that access and equity or be a hindrance to it. And so we at Building Momentum believe that we are going to be the supporter of that. And we want to be able to work with Aaliyah and her future colleagues on the city council to show the realm of the possible for the other businesses that are going to be around us. Alexandria is a small enough city where the experimental ideas can come to the fore. And businesses like ours and other businesses that are already in the city that are progressive in their benefits packages or their parental leave policies or their COVID response or whatever it is, need our similarly minded partners at City Hall to support our crazy ideas and make those happen across the city. So I know that we've got a ton of links in the chat for donations, which you should all be doing, and volunteer opportunities, which you also should all be doing, especially if you are like me, unfortunately not an Alexandria resident. And so my vote won't be happening this spring, but we'll make sure that we get as many as we can voting for Aaliyah. So thank you guys so much. And good luck, Aaliyah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love this phrase, good luck. When you're prepared, you don't need luck. And we know Aaliyah is anything, if anything, she's prepared and then some. We're still tracking great on time. I think it's really important to hear from another community member. I want to have Becky Saunders come up and I want you to talk about why Aaliyah. And I know you two have a dynamic relationship. So, Becky, I'm going to ask you to talk to us a little bit here this afternoon.
Hello, how's everyone today? I am a native Alexandrian with a family history of over 200 years in the city. My last two family members who passed away, my uncle last year was 102 years old and was a native Alexandrian, and my god aunt passed away on last Friday, and she was 109 years old. So they were the two oldest living residents of Alexandria, the city of Alexandria. When I got a text message from my cousin Thea to say, hey, it's this young lady I need you to talk to. She's thinking about running for city council in Alexandria. And I'm like, why? Do you want me to talk to her? I don't live in Alexandria anymore. And she was like, no, because I think you really like her and I know your connections and blah, 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 blah. So for Thea to do that, Thea's a busy doctor, and for her to take time out to send me a message that I needed to connect with Aaliyah, I'm like, wait a minute, this must have some credence to it. So let me kind of do it. So I did. I reached out to her, and I'm a minister, and I told Aaliyah and Jennifer I really have a strong spirit of discernment. And there was something that came through on the phone that wasn't what I call homogenized, a homogenized Black person. And I'm like, okay, maybe she's worth talking to and listening to. And so what I shared with her was my history of the city. My mother, who was very active in civic matters and who, was brave enough to speak truth to power. And so I watched my mother, try to make Alexandria a city for everybody. And in 1985, my mother warned the city council and the mayor about the pitfalls of gentrification. And they swore that would never happen in our city. And that is exactly what happened in our city. And to the point where those of us who had grown up in the city and then became adults and, jobs, we could not afford to live in our own city. The neighborhoods that I grew up in ceased to exist. The one thing I shared with Aaliyah is that the beautiful thing about Alexandria, it always had a sense of community. And that has since been lost because of gentrification. I've lived through the segregation of the city. I've lived through the prosperity, if you will, of the city that did not include people that look like me. And I've lived through city councils who came into the Black community, promised everything from the top of the mountain, to the valley low, and delivered on nothing. Once they got the vote, delivered on nothing. And even when we had our Black mayor, who we of course love, Bill, he could only do so much. And so Alexandria began to change in a way that wasn't healthy for people that look like me. The Burg particularly, which was, the public housing. When we grew up, public housing was just a stepping stone to grow to something else. And it became, because of the way that the council and the powers that be started to move in Alexandria, it became a stuck place where there are families who live in public housing that have been there over 40 years. That was unheard of when I was growing up. Yes, you lived in the projects until you could spell able, which meant then you were able to get out, and do better, for your family. But even in the projects, the sense of community was still there. Some of the projects that we grew up in could have been displayed in Better Homes and Gardens or Good Housekeeping because they were beautiful, because we took pride in what we had. But I hope that Aaliyah will come to the table with enough strength and fortitude to not, buckle under the old guard that's been at the table and has really done nothing to enhance, the Black community or the brown community in our city. My hope is that, the progress and the forward movement is equitable across the board, that people are heard. Because what I hear, even though I don't live in Alexandria, I'm attached, so I get all the phone calls. And what I shared with Jennifer and Aaliyah was the people just feel like the governing in Alexandria just don't care about them. So why vote? Why go out and vote for somebody who's done nothing but lie, and when we try to go to City Hall or whatever, they don't listen to us. So they don't care about us. So you don't get a lot of participation, from the Black community. And I just hope that I'm listening to Aaliyah, and I just feel like her spirit has come, at a really viable time for Alexandria, and that she can, along with, I think, John, because John needs help. John doesn't have anybody on there to really help him, and I've known John since he came into the world. So I think between the two of them, we may, be able to forge forward with a much better canvas of how Alexandria should look. And like I told them, we're all for building our city up, but not with tearing other people down to build our city up. I go to Alexandria, I don't feel like it's my home anymore. I'm like, where's this street come from? And what is that? And what happened to this? Oh, they tore that down. Well, what happened to the people that lived there? They moved away. Why? It's just too many questions, and not to say that we need to live in a segregated city, but we need to live in a city where all communities are represented, where you feel comfortable on the West End, like you do down in Old Town, which I told them was Skid Row, and now it's the Georgetown, the Mecca of the city of Alexandria. But you would get a whipping if your parents found out you went to Old Town, because it was Skid Row. So, they've moved all those boundaries, all the little boutiques. I'm all for small business. I'm all for all of that, but not at the price of beating down another sector of people. I'm not for any of that. My mother made us march to DC for the March on Washington in 1963. My mother changed the diversity of the police, people that work for the police and the sheriff's department. I mean, she was like the one with the big stick. She started the first methadone program in Alexandria. She convinced the courts that stop locking up people for drug, stuff, give them treatment. So she was like on the forefront. And, we came behind her trying to do the same thing, but we got more pushback than she did. I just think people were scared of my mother because she carried a 357 Magnum every day. But, so, when I became an adult, trying to do everything like my mom, I did become the first African-American on the Commission for the City of the Arts. But even that was a struggle, because of who I was. They with my name, Lauren Mays at the time, I'm sorry, they thought I was a white girl. But so they were really kind of upset when I walked in, this beautiful African-American woman, what do you know about the arts, But anyway, there's a lot of work that can be done and that should be done, and not build up new communities and say, okay, we're gonna have a sector for low income or marginal income, participants. But if that participant drops a piece of paper on the sidewalk, they are evicted. Trust thou me, that's what happened in the Burgh. The directives for those people who moved in who were low income or marginal were so stringent that they couldn't live peacefully. Somebody who bought their house straight out could go out and throw a bag of trash on the sidewalk and nothing would happen. But if these other people did it, they got an eviction notice. I'm not telling you what I heard, I'm telling you what I know. So stuff like that is what distresses me about my city. But I think Aaliyah, with her fortitude, her vision, she's quiet, she listens. Everybody listens, but few people actively listen. So I think she will actively listen to the voice of the people because she's come from a different era. You know, she's known what it's like to choose for her mother between healthcare and food, or healthcare and paying the bills. You know, when you have a relation to something like that, you're more sensitive to people like that, or more show more compassion. You know, we just saw with the ex-president that we had, he had no relation to anything that spelled P-O-O-R. So he did not understand, you know, but I think Aaliyah brings a lot to the table. And even though I can't vote in Alexandria, I have lots of friends that still live there. I've already sent out probably 100 emails to people that are voting, you know, residents of the city, to support Aaliyah.
Oh,
so I'm looking for good things from you, girl, and you know I'll call you on it if you don't. All right, God bless you all.
Thank you. I think we've heard this a few times. I don't still live in Alexandria, but it's the roots of the people on this call to that city that are saying, you know, we're still showing up for Aaliyah, right? And you have someone like Becky who will hold Aaliyah accountable because her family there, her roots are there. One of the things that Becky said was the powers that be. When I think about Aaliyah, it is about the power of the people, and her preparedness will allow her to speak on all people's behalf. Aaliyah, I'm gonna have you close us out. My sister, it was my honor to show up for you today, because we need more leaders who are a representation of our communities. I salute you, my queen. I'm behind you. I'm gonna put my money and my time behind you, however I can help you. Cheers to you.
It's hard to speak, because I appreciate everyone who has spoken on this call, from Miss Becky, you taking my text message, hopping on the phone with me and sharing your story and the history and educating me on the things and the perspectives that I have not seen, but that I need to know in order to be a good leader. From Alan, you making space for me to come and not just, you know, understand your business, but to tour your business, to hear about the things that other cities enable business leaders to do, but that we maybe haven't, and the spirit that's needed to bring us forward in a way that's inclusive. Jennifer, I thank you for your friendship and the way that you have been with me in the trenches, making sure that there is no such thing as the voiceless and that we actually change that. Kia, you got me choked up. I'm trying to like tilt my head back to pull the tears back, because I thank you for just bringing your spirit to this call, but in every conversation I've had with you, the way you see people and speak to people and care for them and give your all, I strive to embody and be more like you every day. So I am grateful. Mayor Johnson, I thank you for taking time. You know, it is not easy to run a city. I sometimes look on CNN and I'm like, oh, there's Van. But thank you for making time out of your schedule to just share how you have watched me grow, but also the reasons why you know I'm prepared, and the work that you have led and that I've had just an ability to be a small part of. For everyone who's been in the chat and everyone who gave time today, I think you know, those who know me know, but those who are getting to know me, I'm genuine when I say I care about people, and I'm not just listening, but I'm actively listening, as Becky said, and I'm taking that and trying to act on your behalf, but also to act with you. I mean, I don't want to ever be somebody who's so far and so removed from what's happening in our communities that I can't make decisions that work for all of us. So I just am excited for this journey. I'm excited for the road ahead. I ask that you continue to find ways to get involved. Thank you for folks that have signed up today. Thank you for folks that are telling your neighbors and everyone else you know. Let's do this. I think we have I know we have a chance at winning, and we're going to do this. So I look forward to your vote, your donations, your support. This is only the beginning. And with that, thank you for your Sunday, and I hope you have a good rest of the afternoon.